Welcome to a glossary of Robotech and RPG terms. In this video, I'll be talking about the different terms for Robotech and the different terms for RPG. I hope you enjoy this video. Glossary of Robotech terms. I'm not going to read this word for word. In some cases I will. Some of this falls in the category of history, so I might cover it during history. Number 1. Droid. A non-transformable battle load developed from Earth's limited understanding of the protoculture and robotechnology. The droids are giant, 45-foot to 80-foot tall robot suits and vital to the Robotech Defense Force. Hyperspace, a dimension between the standard dimensions of space and time. It is a zone which can be used to travel light years without feeling the effects of time. The space fold process is the traveling through hyperspace. Navigation through hyperspace isn't always accurate and is most hazardous traveling great distances. Invid, these two words I literally cannot pronounce. I've tried. Creatures are the natives to the planet which origined protoculture. I could read all of this, but most of this is going to get covered in more detail in the Infinite Invasion book, so I'll cover it then. But if you want, you can pause and read it now. Mech, a term used to reference all machines which utilize robotechnology and protoculture. It is most commonly thought of as the context of the droids, Veritech, and Zetan Battlepod. Protoculture. Now, this goes into a bit of a historical detail, so I'm just going to read the first little bit here and then read this down here. Once again, if you want, you can pause and read the rest of it. A source of unique bioenergy derived from the invid flower of life. And I'll leave it at that because, like I said, the rest of it's just a bit of historical. Here's where the real explanation is. Organic fusion, which became the basis of robotechnology and the creation of mecha. A mecha's drive is energy from protoculture as well as installing it with a symbiotic link with man and machine. This is very important. During combat video, we'll talk about why this link is very important. RDF, Robotech Defense Force, a part of the United Nations World Defense Force. The RDF is specifically charged with the use and development of robotechnology and mecha for combat and defense. Reflex power. The term reflex power can be applied to weapons, engines, and machinery. It is applied to a system which works instantly or responds to a certain, I can't pronounce that, so I'm going to say command, as a reflex action. It is a form of passive artificial intelligence. Robotechnology. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm actually not going to read it all because a good, simple explanation is that robotechnology refers to all technology that utilizes protoculture in some way. That is how I understand it. You can correct me in comments if I am wrong. I'm pretty sure somebody's going to correct me in comments if I'm wrong. I hope so. I'd hate to sit here and make that statement and nobody correct me and just sound like an idiot forever. Robomasters. This refers to the race that actually developed the robotechnology. You can pause and read this here. What I got out of this was they are a highly advanced race of humans that have actually disconnected from humanity in multiple ways. The SDF, the Super Dimensional Fortress, based on the original designs of the Robotech Master, Zor. Spacefold, the method used by the SDF-1, Zetan, and Robotech Masters by which vehicles travel through hyperspace. Veritech Fighter, transformable combat mech vital to the RDF. The race I call the Zetan because I can't pronounce their name. A race of warrior clones designed by the Robotech Masters. Zor. You see his name pop up a couple times here. I didn't actually read his name out loud up till now because most of what he covers is backstory. This video is about terms. So I'm not going to cover him. You can read him if you want. Glossary of role-playing game terms. Kind of important if you're going to start playing. At this point, I'm losing veteran watchers, just like the last video, but for those who have never played an RPG, this could be very useful. Sorry about the re-recording. I made a mistake and just literally stopped mid-sentence and then moved on to the next subject. Not my brightest move, but I am correcting it now. Anyway, attributes. These are the numbers that are used to evaluate the strength and weaknesses of your character. For example, PP means physical prowess, how smooth, agile, quick a character is in combat. A PP of 4 would indicate that the character is pretty clumsy. Not necessarily. In this book, you don't get any minuses for having a low attribute, but you can roleplay it that way, which can be pretty fun sometimes. A PP of 10 would be an average, fairly coordinated human being, while a PP of 16 or more would belong only to a character with exceptional speed and reflexes. Attributes are also called statuses or stats. I prefer stats. Campaign, a word used to describe an ongoing game if you play the same character with the same game master on a regular basis when you are in a campaign. Yeah, that's a good description. To a degree, because there's been more than once I've played campaigns that were where it was just one storyline after another. It wasn't a real campaign, just a series of games, which is still fun, don't get me wrong. Character. Every player, except the GM, has a character that serves as an imaginary player piece, also called player character. Yes. Very important word there, imaginary. I covered that in my last video, so we'll leave it at that. Death. Just as in regular life, a character can die. The death of a hero in a comic book or in a game is a very rare event. That depends on your GM. I'm going to leave it at that, though. You can read the rest of this if you want, but I think that is all that needs to be covered for death. Dice. Anybody who knows dice knows what dice is. What they really should talk about here is the D system, where you talk about D6, D3, D4. Instead of saying, oh, a 20-sided die, it's quicker to manipulate to say, oh, give me 3D6, give me 2D20. So I will go over a quick glossary of my own personal terms here. A 4-sided die is called a D4. A 6-sided die is called a D6. A 8-sided die is called a D8. 12-sided die is called a D12. 20-sided die is called a D20. Game Master, GM. This is the person who controls the game world and all the non-player characters in it. A player is a person who plays a character in a role-playing game. Role-playing game, sometimes called a role-playing game RPG or fantasy role-playing game FRP. I prefer just straight role-playing. These are games with game masters and individual characters. Rolling a 20-sided die. Simply rolling a 20-sided die for a number. Okay, why did they cover that? Like, that's kind of up here in dice. Anyway, roll percentile. Take two 10-sided dice. Well, we have percentile now. Yes, they didn't have them back then. I don't need to read this because we have percentile for this now. Run. This is just a term gamers use to describe playing a game. Example. He runs an excellent campaign. I ran in Kevin's game last week. Saving throw. This is a roll, usually a 20-sided die, to avoid some unpleasant event. For example, a character might have to roll a saving throw to avoid being overcome by tear gas. Scenario. This is a specific adventure that confronts the characters in a role-playing game. A scenario usually has a beginning, hearing about a criminal, middle, tracking down the criminal, an end, defeating the criminal. Most campaigns are developed around a number of scenarios. That is true. Sometimes I like to sandbox my characters or my players. I let them just kind of roam. But yeah, that's usually a good way of putting it. And that's my glossary video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. And my next video is going to be OCCs and skills. I hope you look forward to it, and I deeply apologize for the sound on my last video. I just discovered how to fix that issue, and it won't be happening on any more of my videos. I hope you have a great week. Farewell.